Hi, my name is Chris McCannell. I'm from Washington, D.C. I worked on Capitol Hill for 15 years. Now I work in a public affairs firm. I lead the financial service practice in a government relations practice. For me, I've been out for about since my late 20s, so probably for the last 15 years. And for me, that was something that I think with everyone, it takes time to figure out what's right and what the timing is to do that and to come to that public decision that I think everyone sort of knows privately and inside. And for me, what was really important was I was working on Capitol Hill as chief of staff to a member of Congress, and I saw friends and colleagues who were gay, who were open, who were accepted, who were successful, and who were good role models. And also I realized the importance of being out in public and true to yourself, and just how it takes the pressure off and it enables you to really focus on what's important and with friends and family. I think for most of us, the reaction was incredibly supportive and loving and caring, and I think for most people, that particularly. I think back in when I was working on Capitol Hill, was the issue of the professional support as well as the personal support, and on both ends it was incredibly successful, and it was loving and embracing. And I met my partner 13 years ago, and we're still together, and he went through a similar process, and both of us to parents and broader groups of friends around the same time was also a great source of strength and inspiration. This is my fourth trip to Israel. I came to Israel when I was in college on a program, and then I was on Capitol Hill. I was fortunate to come with a group of chiefs of staff from New York to visit Israel as well, and then last year traveled with my partner. What makes this trip special for me is that sort of as the process of coming out, I also was going through a process of self-discovery and self-awareness, and it was something from the last 20 years that I've always been really feeling a strong connection to and desire is Judaism and the community. A year ago I converted to Judaism, and that was a really tremendous process of study and learning and self-reflection and really sort of understanding something that I always felt a deeper connection to and what it meant for myself. And one of the things that has always connected me to the Jewish people, to Judaism, and has been my passionate support and love of the state of Israel and the challenges that Israel faces. I heard about Wider Bridge through some friends, as well as I think through the internet and through a pro-Israel, pro-LGBT community that's trying to build a stronger connections, a bridge between the Israeli community and the American community. And I was thinking of a way to sort of further this learning of Judaism and further my involvement, and not just make it becoming a Jew by choice and then saying that I'm a Jew by choice, but actually putting skin in the game and being engaged and involved with groups that are supporting that mission. And what's so I think innovative about a Wider Bridge is if you look over this past summer and the situation in Gaza and the conflict that happened there when Israel was under terrorist attacks on an ongoing basis, there's a real lack of understanding and awareness amongst the progressive community in the United States and amongst particularly I think the LGBT community, and that involvement as to what Israel really what Israel faces, what its challenges are as a state, and how to be pro-gay, pro-human rights, pro-equal rights, and also pro-Israel, pro-Zionist. And I think the mission of the Wider Bridge to improve that connectivity, to engage people as to what modern Israel is like is really important. And so that's why I applied to a wider bridge. I also think the people who are supporting a wider bridge and the broader funding that's through congregations, through individuals, through foundations is really important. And it's something that, as you see GLBT Americans, Jewish Americans gain wider profile and focus in the United States and through congregations and involvement, a wider bridge is and I think will continue to grow and become an important piece in the community, in congregations throughout the United States and Jewish communities, with Jewish individuals, with pro-Israel supporters, with people who are looking to connect to Israel in a pro-GLBT way, to understand, appreciate, and advocate for this important country. I think what's been really interesting and eye-opening for me so far is, first of all, the fact that we are traveling as a GLBT group, and the warm and accepting embrace that every Israeli that we've had from all level has had onto us, and that warm openness and welcoming. I think what was really interesting was a dinner that we had and on our first night in Tel Aviv, and we had the producer of Walk on Water and Yossi and Yager, and a lot of movies that have actually really entered into the American-Israeli film lexicon, as well as I think into American gay film appreciation, and just talking about the Israeli experience of how they've come to this point, and of acceptance, of openness, of really full equality. And the interesting point was that for so long the country was under so much threat, and that the families and Israelis who built this country, that the priority of the mothers and fathers were to they knew their kids had to do military service. They knew there was a good possibility of a confrontation with a neighboring state, and to protect Israel's security and the country, and that the goal was to have their child come out alive and to build a future generation. And for those kids who told their parents they're gay, or came out and said I'm not going to have every parent's dream, or the dream's going to look a little different, it was not a big deal, because the kids were alive, and that was what was important, and they're building this country, and that being gay was something that that they could deal with. That it's about living here and about building the dream that I think some people saw it, some that certainly the forefounders and Herzl and others had the vision for. And all the other things just are minor issues that you can get through, and that's what's really amazing, because the importance, it comes back to that importance of the family, the broader community, and that everyone is a part of this goal, a part of this dream of building this country. And it's going to be a country made up of a lot of different people. That it's a mosaic of cultures, of colors, of Jews from throughout the world, and a sizable Christian and Arab community, but one that is all in it together to try to live in peace and promote the success of the state of Israel as the only democracy in this region, and really the only true open society in this region, and a beacon for a lot of folks in neighboring areas. And that really hit me, because I think that's something that in the United States, it's the culture is what keeps a lot of people either in the closet, or have challenges in coming out, and have challenges in that process, And here, I'm sure there's there's a lot of similar challenges as well, and families come from a lot of backgrounds, and we heard from an Ethiopian Jewish gay who's working with that community. I know that there's some folks who are working with the Druze community. There's some folks who are trying to engage with Israeli Arabs as well. But the fact that it was articulated so well from me that when you're at war, when you have mandatory military service, when there unfortunately there is a possibility of a confrontation or an engagement, that a kid coming out as gay or lesbian is such a smaller thing when they just want they want their kids to be alive. They want them to build this country. I'm proud to be a Jew by choice. I'm proud to be here as a gay man with a 13-year relationship. And I'm proud to be with a wider bridge and to see Israel through this perspective, to see modern Israel, as well as to learn more about the history and to get a deeper connection to this country, and to be part of, hopefully will be a large and growing and long-term engaging program that won't just be for my generation and the cohorts that are on this trip, but really for future generations and for those future kids and those future B'nai Mitzvah in the United States, as well as in Israel, to know that there's a way that they can connect with their love of Judaism, Zionism, and being a gay person, that all works together, and that's what Wider Bridge does.